About a few months ago, we made a video discussing the complicated and twisted nature of Gohan potentially becoming the protagonist of Dragon Ball going into the future. We touched upon why we think he wasn't resonating so well with Toriyama as the main character, and we showed some potential replacements and the reasons why Goku was so appealing to the creator as the main honcho for so long. Now, in 2023, that superheroes had some time to digest, when the emotions from that movie have slightly cooled off, and the latest manga saga is trying to actually make them lukewarm again, we can now go further and analyze the differences between the movie and the manga. Now, this was a long time coming, we know, but trust us, as we have some very new things to say about it that might be a little bit spicy. We talked about how Gohan would be potentially set to be a more proactive character than his father or Vegeta, and that, as a family man, he would be more bound to his home turf. Not really that inclined to go out into space like the prince and his dad. But in all of that, we had a look through other Toriyama works, and the author has a certain type for protagonists. Whenever we talk about Senbei Norimaki from Dr. Slump, Jarko from the title of the same name, Tang Tong Goku, or Beelzebub, they all have a few things in common. First of all, despite some of them having more heroic traits than others, they are not something that we Westerners would see as instant protag material, the stuff that we would see every single day in Western media. No. They tend to be eccentric, goofballs, and selfish in many regards, and a lot of their heroism is often accidental. Of course, behind all of that is genuine well-meaning and the ability to eventually do the right thing and learn a lot along the way. Character development for Toriyama, he's pretty good at that. But this colourful cast of protags can show you one thing. Toriyama does not like the conventional heroic type. You might even take this as a genre-specific trait, as a lot of shonen characters tend to be written that way, so that means they're a dime a dozen and it's now become a bit of a joke. And their character progression tends to be less important than that of those around them. No, Toriyama doesn't do that. Again, they are different people from different worlds, but you can clearly say that Toriyama does definitely have a type. And Gohan, well, Gohan tends to be the serious type. Okay, I know what you're gonna be saying. Well, the Great Saiyaman's pretty goofy, and it's not like the eldest son of Goku has no humoristic scenes whatsoever. He's a goofball, just not when it comes to actual fighting. Well, that's because he doesn't really like it. For Goku, there is a whimsicality about it. For Vegeta, there is his absolute determination to be the strongest and beat Kakarot. Gohan, though? Gohan usually wants to get the job done when the battle demands it. He takes no joy in fighting. He still doesn't. There was very little goofing off against the likes of Cell or Super Buu. Cockiness, yeah, but if you push the son of Goku to fight, of course he's going to fight to end you. And, you know, that whole thing with Super Buu? No, I'm here to kill you. Yeah, that's the complete difference. Goku, he'd just be like, well, I wanna kinda kill you almost, but then make you come back and then I can fight you again. Okay? His father yearns for the experience, the thrill of fighting. Gohan, no, he wants to be done with it. He is pure, but in a very moralistic sort of way. And we can see that this might not be the type of character that Toriyama particularly likes on the regular. It's closer to how people in the West imagine a traditionally badass heroic archetype. That's why Ultimate Gohan resonates so well with the American audience. But it doesn't have that underdog energy that Goku had at the same time. Mostly because, as the son of Kakarot, he was expected to be the Bog's Dollocks. Even when we meet him at a very young age, despite him being meek and shy and very polite, we do know that this kid is insanely strong right from the get-go. You know, the whole, 710! His immense potential is a pretty massive plot point, and Goku, well, he started off as this weird monkey kid, and yeah, he had some very savant-like abilities and natural smartness. He learned the Kamehameha instantly, practically, but still, in his earlier days, he didn't feel like he was at the top of the food chain, and in fact, in his first fight against Yamcha, he lost. Check out this discussion up top, by the way, as to what we think about Goku's progression. But as for Gohan, oh, you know there's something in there already. But aside from all of that, let's talk about the character flaws. Superhero paints us a picture of a very flawed Gohan. One who used his family as an excuse to bury himself in his work because, oh, I've got to go and protect my family. I have to provide for them. Otherwise, what good am I? You can shoot laser beams and protect the world, mate. I think that's pretty good. He's instead mirroring Goku's overt dedication to fighting only with bugs, which often was a problem in relationships within his own family. So he's a lot like his father and he doesn't even realize it. But the thing is that it's something that he has grown accustomed to. He is used to Goku and Vegeta solving all of the problems. Just wait for Goku. You don't really have to do anything. We, the viewers, are used to that. Doesn't mean we have to like it though. And if you think about it, what Gohan got as a kid was that his dad was just trying to protect him and often relied on his friends to take care of him. Piccolo and Krillin were there for him when he was young, when Goku was off saving the world or being dead in outer space, or when they were saving the world together. So in his mind, it's obvious that he would be there for his daughter in terms of peace and when he's doing his work, but it turns out not to be the case. Something that, in his mind no doubt, he also does for the benefit of Pan. But he doesn't realize that him not being there for Pan makes Pan sad, negating all of the good he's trying to do. Except in Goku's case, it's kind of more understandable, as while he wasn't great father material, he was still doing his best with what he had and how he perceived things. For a Saiyan, Goku's a pretty good dad. There was no actual neglect, just more of a Saiyan perspective on things. So no, we are not trying to spark a pointless debacle debate about Goku equals bad father. He isn't the best dad in the series, no, but he's fine. Gohan, on the other hand, took some very bad examples from his dad and actually behaved, arguably, worse and slightly hypocritically, as the hardship of Goku's fatherhood was sort of connected to much less safe times. But you know what? That's good that he's realized it. I'm glad that we found this particular flaw and that Gohan is now trying his best to work through it. We've talked about how Gohan is one of those characters who is doomed to repeat the same narrative cycle over and over again. Sort of like what Vegeta experienced from the Buu saga and then again in Super. Hopefully he's gonna break that cycle, but you never know. This was something new, and Gohan was trying to catch his bees a little bit, which is refreshing because Gohan didn't really have flaws that made him endearing before. One was cockiness during a fight with Super Buu, but we kind of moved that to the whole drunken with power sort of trope. His being shy, slightly awkward and pacifistic aren't really traditional flaws. In the words of Zemo from Captain America Civil War, "Now that you're standing here, I just realized there's a bit of green in the blue of your eyes." There is a flaw here. A flaw that is no longer fun. It kind of makes us angry. How can he treat his daughter like that? Especially after his own experiences. How can he be like that? And to be honest, I think all of this worked. Despite being a beloved character, Gohan was pretty frustrating to follow in the Super era, as his constant relapses into his out of form state and going to conferences started to get very stale. Except, isn't that how we sort of behave? We don't always like it when fictional characters are like us, because how many times have we returned to our bad habits over the years and behaviors that we've tried to shake off, promise to get rid of for good? Heck, we even succeeded at times, only to then go back to them after some time because, they're familiar. There is a part of us, the audience, that wants the protagonists to be more like us, but there is also a part that does not want them to be like us. We want to be better. We want the characters to show that you can overcome your shortcomings and then have happiness forever after. And Gohan was, in his mind, living in the world where the story had ended. The credits had rolled, so everyone had won, and he felt like he didn't need to be a part of all of that. Piccolo literally drags him into the action because he knows this is a lie and that Gohan is an escapist at his core. After all, he knows him better than literally anyone else in the series. Superhero gets some stink for retreading the same paths and being overly reliant on homages to what had come before. The whole member berry sort of thing. But honestly, I do think that giving Gohan some shock therapy here is one of the better ideas of the movie. Sure, 16 did it first, but they barely knew each other. It was the reaction to all of the destruction around that character with a similar sensitivity to himself, and the cruelty itself that prompted Gohan to transform and take action. This time though, it's more personal. Again, despite the goofy setup, this is some serious stuff, and Tetsuro Kodama and Akira Toriyama managed to make it work. To return to what we said at the beginning, I think that when writing the screenplay for Dragon Ball Super Superhero, Toriyama knew that he needed to give Gohan a big, glaring flaw, like he did with his other protagonists. Technically, this is a Piccolo movie, but we know that Gohan also needed to ascend to the role of the second main character, the deuteragonist, in this particular movie. And whilst I am certain that the Great Saiyaman was supposed to maybe add some levity before the Buu saga, sort of relax after the Cell games, it really wasn't enough for the author to ease himself into the experience of having Gohan in the lead role. Here, it's perfect. It also does help that Superhero is a shorter form, and that it's easier to progress the story if you know its exact length, and do not plan for it to become a decade-spanning massive saga. But yes, I do think that after giving Gohan some more obvious flaws, Toriyama finally was like, well, now I can work with this guy. And listen, he used Piccolo as a vehicle for that. That is fair. He even lets the Namekian be a little bit more eccentric than he used to be, with his adorable relationship with Pan, and the whole espionage plot that he conjured up with her. But you gotta do what you gotta do. And you made something that wasn't working for you in the 90s finally click in the 2020s. Good for you, Toriyama. When we were younger as an audience, it was super weird as to why Akira Toriyama would not want Gohan to be the main character. It was uncanny to the point of us, collectively as a fandom, inventing the story of the Japanese audience maybe not liking the character all that much and forcing the author into returning Goku to the main pedestal. The truth is that we weren't really understanding the franchise properly, or its author properly. Especially those of us that started with Z and not with the original Dragon Ball. Culture, it's a funny thing. Many things can differ, such as traditions, superstitions, or even priorities. And sometimes we tend to overestimate how globalization actually works. We're connected, but we're still different people with different sentiments. And you should never forget about this when interacting with media from different parts of the world. Sometimes it can be aimed at us, like Superhero was, especially with its soundtrack, but not everything is all about us. From time to time, you have to accept the fact that in Japan, Raditz is really not a big deal. But who knows what the future might bring, especially with this web series that could be around in 2024. But we'll see what the deal is about that when it gets here. And I wonder if Shueisha has realized how many different markets it has to cover with the franchise. Toriyama will just be Toriyama for all eternity. He'll just keep doing his thing. Sometimes he might experiment a little, although as we've stated many times before, his relationship with the series has become less passive-aggressive with the hints of troll over the years. There's a certain fondness starting to become more apparent. So, who knows? Maybe he'll persuade some head honchos at Toei and Shueisha to experiment even more with the formula of the series, give some other characters the spotlight. There are so many more flawed Dragon Ball characters that have yet to be explored.